In 1992, a year after I got my NES, I got my Game Boy. It came with Super Mario Land, a pretty different Mario game. Then again, it wasn't designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, rather Gunpei Yokoi. Later on, I bought Quirk by Acclaim, a decent puzzle game with good music. Those were the only two Game Boy games I owned until about 9 years later when I bought Shadowgate Classic off a friend. I still have my original Game Boy to this day, and although a battery once popped inside it leaking acid, it still runs. However, I never used it anymore because as soon as I laid my eyes on a Game Boy Color, the blurry green Game Boy screen is too hard to look at. In 2006 I started buying Game Boy games and accessories, building up a rather large collection. However, a year or so later I had sold it all, except my original games. But today even my original games are lost. I don't know how it happened, but I don't have them anymore. But now I have a new collection. I bought Super Mario Land 2 first, a couple years ago. Then recently I won an eBay auction for a pile of 80 Game Boy games, of which I kept 22 and sold off the rest. Most of which were either bad or Japanese card battle or RPG games which I can't play, not knowing Japanese. Yet. First off, I'll show you the common games I got from the lot of 80. Super Mario Land 1 and Super Mario Land 3, aka Wario Land, one of the best games for the Game Boy. Then Dr. Mario, which is just like the NES version except black and white. To compensate for the lack of colors, they made the pills either white, black or grey. Tetris is another classic, of course. Kirby's Dream Land 1 and 2, both very good games. Speaking of Kirby, I have Kirby's Pinball Land, also known as Kirby's Block Ball. Donkey Kong, which is like the arcade game but very expanded. It has 100 levels. Super Donkey Kong GB / Donkey Kong Land is basically Donkey Kong Country on a Game Boy cartridge, which is an impressive feat in itself. Kicks, which unfortunately does not have pictures of creation models. And Golf. A few lesser known games, for starters Mario's Picross. I don't understand how to play this, but one day I'm gonna read up on it and give it a go. Flipple, an exciting cube game according to itself, is another puzzle game that I need to figure out, but could be fun once I do. Solomon's Club is basically Solomon's Key on Game Boy. Yoshi no Panepon is the Japanese version of Tetris Attack. I'm not sure why Yoshi couldn't star in this game in the West too. Then the mostly unknown ones. Battle Dodgeball stars Ultraman, Kamen Rider and Gundam, all super deformed playing dodgeball. This team-up comes to us by Band Presto, the same company that made the Great Battle games. Tenjin Kaisen, known as Mercenary Force in English, is a 2D shooter that's a bit different. You hire different warriors with different abilities and try to liberate Japan from monsters or something. Yu Yu Hakusho Daisan Tama is an adventure beat-em-up hybrid. The beat-em-up parts are pretty cool, and if it didn't have that, I would have sold it. Crayon Shin-Chan 2, Momotaro Thunderbolt 2, Magical Taruruta-kun and Super Bikuriman are all platformers, my favorite genre. Crayon Shin-Chan 2 has you playing as a little kid that blows bubbles to attack and collects what I think is soda bottles. The first stage was fine, but the second was all of a sudden very irritating, since you die in one hit, usually. Momotaro Thunderbolt 2, where you throw what looks like butts and pick up bigger butts, which can later turn into even bigger butts. And if you get hit, you lose your clothes. I think I can see why this never left Japan, although the gameplay is good. Magical Taruruta-kun's graphics are not that great, but the control is fine. The problem is, again, one-hit kills, usually. I'm not sure how it works. Seems like some situations are very hard or impossible not to get hit in. Super Bikuriman is my favorite of these four. It's more like a beat-em-up, but when you find a Star of David, you transform into Super Jew or whatever, and suddenly you can fly and have stronger attacks. The graphics are good and the levels have a bit of exploration to them. I'll be looking into this one. Finally, the holy grail of my Game Boy collection, Shalvo 55. I talked about this in my Bound High review, but it really is a good game. I didn't think I would ever get to own it, but suddenly it turned up on Tradera, the Swedish eBay, and that was that. I was very surprised to find that the palette via the Super Game Boy is red. The screenshots on the back of the box is red, but I thought that was just a little reference to the Virtual Boy. But it was real. Cool. That's it. Oh yeah, I play my Game Boy games on a Super Nintendo via a Super Game Boy. And additionally, I've bought a Super Game Boy controller made by Hori. It's a thing of beauty. It looks just like a Game Boy. It even has a fake speaker in the right place. The annoying thing about Game Boy games is that they seem to be very delicate. If there's any kind of dust in them, they refuse to run. They're way more sensitive than Famicom or Super Famicom games. But that's not going to stop me in my never-ending search for that next hidden gem.